Are you experiencing back pain that you can't get rid of? Getting migraines, vertigo, having trouble sleeping, and/or brain fog? Do you feel like your medical doctor doesn't understand your condition? Blair Chiropractic might be the solution you've been looking for. If you've ever been skeptical about this, the two doctors you're about to listen to were even more skeptical than you were when they looked into chiropractic work. But fear not. Get expert guidance from the blonde and the bald, Doctors Beth Baigley and Frederick Schurger. These two doctors have extensive experience beyond the healthcare realm and bringing unique vision and healing to their patients. What do you have when you get a biological analyst and an engineer together? Find out right here on another episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Welcome your hosts, Doctors Baigley and Schurger.
We are back. It's the new
Woo-hoo!
year. Dr. Baigley, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing, Dr. Frederick?
I'm doing good. I'm going to change my audio setting. Hold on one second. I got my audio not in my ear. Nobody wants that, especially if I end up with extra system feedback. But that's better. It's better to have you up here in my brain. Actually, you're in my brain a lot.
I'm always in your brain in a bad way.
Really twists my gets me in trouble. Usually involves steak.
Meat sweats.
Yes,
we're going to talk a little bit about meat sweats today, aren't we?
I think we will. Welcome everyone. This is our first recording of The Blonde and the Bald for 2023.
Yes,
that's gonna get hard to say. Or be hard to say.
It's hard to write. It's hard to write. I write it, and the two becomes a three.
I have a stamper that already says, "Oh, yep, this one's set to 23."
Okay, you did it.
If I don't have that, now I'll get the day wrong about 3 times a week. It's still set for yesterday. But
thank goodness for all the digital stuff that does it on its own. But there's always still a few papers that need it on it, signatures and that kind of thing.
Exactly. So I hope everyone has had a chance to had a good Christmas and is starting the new year off, and they're doing all their resolutions really well.
I heard on the radio today on the way into the office that only 37% of people make like New Year's goals or resolutions. And I find it hard to believe because I'm like a big goal resolution person, right. But like I kind of had we had a conversation between my kids and my husband at dinner one night, and I had to like force them to make goals. And now
my problem with that number is 85% of all statistics on the internet are made up on the spot. So
that's true.
But no, I've asked other people, it's like, hey, what are you going to do this year? You're going to love what I do. I'm going to challenge you to join me with it. You're going to like, no, but I'm going to do a cold shower every morning before my coffee.
Oh no, you're not doing that again, are you?
Have
you already started?
I'm going to work up to 5 minutes a day. Now, here's the thing, and this is, I know you do. And here is my successful cold shower. If I get into the cold shower with the water set at cold, you've got probably about a 30-second moment before all the sort of lukewarm room temperature water has come through the house. If I get through that and I'm done, then I'm done. And I've had a successful cold shower.
So the cold stuff comes from underground.
Well, the cold stuff, it comes in pretty quick. And I don't mind it. So I think I did 3 minutes so far.
If I do that again, I'm doing it in the summer again. I can't do it in the winter. It'll make me cold. I call it cold on my insides where my insides are cold. And when my insides are cold, I have sadness.
Yes.
So I don't want to do it.
That's why I do it before I have coffee. So that
coffee makes it better for you. I don't like coffee, so.
Well, and here's the other crazy thing. Everyone's talking, and everyone's going to be worried about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about weight loss and the New Year's resolution and stuff today. But everyone's like freaking out about, oh no, I'm going to have cortisol, and the cortisol is going to make me fat. It's like, no. Waking up in the morning is because you have cortisol doing what its job is. And it takes about 2 hours for cortisol to run its course to do everything it's supposed to do, including burning that body fat that you've got on you, which is counter to what everyone thinks about all the stress stuff, except for I want my coffee when I wake
So
up.
when you, just again, to stop you 1 second is if someone listening doesn't know what cortisol is, it's released by the adrenal gland, right?
Yep.
And the adrenal gland sits on top of our kidneys.
Yep.
And what is the purpose of cortisol?
It is our stress hormone, but it is, but in part,
but it's not bad necessarily.
No, there's
but it can be.
Well, part of the cortisol response in the morning, because there's a cortisol spike that happens, is to help wake us up and get us moving. And a lot of people who have a hard time getting up from various reasons, their cortisol is not responding the way it's supposed to. And maybe it'll spike later on in the day and cause other problems. The kicker is cortisol starts here and again goes for about 2 hours, and it goes up like this. Let's say this is a 2-hour spike.
Yep.
If you put caffeine over here at, say, let's say you get up at 7 or 6. Let's say you get up at 6 because that coffee at 8 is still not soon enough. If you put them here, you get this now 4-hour window of fat burning. But if you put them here, you are getting this sort of depletion of anything extra. They don't stack on top. They sort of sit, parallel to each other. And you actually weaken your cortisol response. So you can't wake up in the morning without that cup of coffee. So I'm doing the cold to stress my body to say, hey, use all that cortisol right now. So that's I always want, honestly, I knew that cold showers are supposed to be good for metabolism and things like that. But I honestly hadn't looked up why. I know it's kind of a bad doctor thing, or maybe I read it at some point and just let it go out of my mind because I hate cold showers. Exactly.
So thank you for explaining why people do that, or people do cold baths or something like that. I haven't bought through the tub for the cold plunge yet, but I actually thought about, I have a bathtub that's separate from my shower, right?
Yeah.
So if I just kept water in it in the winter, right? And then it would be, it'd be the temperature of, 70 degrees or 65 degrees or whatever. Yeah. But I could just take some ice and throw it in there, and then I could do a cold dip. And then I would feel bad wasting the water every day, because that's a lot of water every day. I could just leave it in the tub for 2 or 3 days in a row.
Add some salt to it, because
I'd probably put some some Epsom salt.
Yeah. And here's what everyone who does ice baths in their own home tubs misses. You're better off doing exactly what you're describing, bringing cold water into the tub, sitting into the tub, and then bringing the ice in, because that'll yes, because if because you're already acclimated to the room temperature water, the cold water of the tub, but that's still only going to be 40-50 degrees. So it's not going to be sub-zero. It's cold, it's uncomfortable, but you add the ice afterwards, and then you start moving around in it, and that sounds awful. Yeah, it is. It's completely miserable, but it has so many health benefits.
It does.
It boosts testosterone, which is good for everybody.
I don't need that much more, but
but
it does. Even in women, it boosts testosterone. We're supposed to have a little bit.
It boosts your mood. It makes you feel better. It's a feel-good hormone for men and women. But any case. There's that's my one little thing, and I'm setting my bars a little bit lower than I usually have in the past, simply because I'm we have to achieve our goals. And sometimes, like I said, if I just walk in there first thing in the morning, get cold, and then throw my clothes back on and make my coffee, I feel like I've succeeded at something. And sometimes that's all you need to do. Some people, others have said in the past multiple times, first thing you do in the morning should be make your bed, because if you got nothing else done,
there's something to do it. There's something to that.
You accomplished one thing, and there are tons of benefits associated with that. So that's sort of my one singular, because I do so much. I've got so many other habits that I've established.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, you're trying to add something that could be beneficial,
right?
And painful.
It is. But as much as I was hurting after my workout yesterday, and this is, I'm in the middle of week 3 right now. I'm like, oh, I ache. If I'm cold, I'll ache less.
Yes.
And
or
that
you're
did
so
happen.
miserable you forget about the ache.
Right.
Which is probably what it is.
It is.
So one of the conversations I had with a patient this week was he had, I wouldn't say stopped responding, but he like plateaued in his response to his symptom changes.
Sure.
And he gets like symptoms sort of like stenosis in his back. We don't have confirmation that that's stenosis, and that's like a narrowing of where the nerve should go through. And what that can do is cause like pain, or if they're standing for a long period of time, weakness. And the other thing he gets is neck pain. Mm-hmm. So we started obviously our normal care plan of checking, adjusting him, and he's not holding very well. And so I started diving into like, what are his habits? And we talked about work, and he's very stressed, that kind of stuff. But come to find out, he has a vice, and it's drinking 4 sodas a day.
Oh.
And I heard that and I went, oh, okay.
And how big are these sodas? Because
I didn't actually ask. Because no matter what, but the big, obviously, I don't think they're big gulps. I'm thinking they're probably cans of soda, but I did not ask. I probably should have asked that.
And because that's a really, that's a clarifying question that for most people, I only drink 4.
No, he knew 4 was bad.
Right.
He wasn't under the assumption that this was he said, this is a vice. Right. And I was like, are you doing it for the caffeine, the flavor, the sugar? Why is this a vice? And caffeine's definitely one of them. And I'm not anti-caffeine, but it's the sugar and the flavor. He doesn't really like water. And I was like, of course you don't like water. If you're drinking sugar all the time, your taste buds are acclimated to drinking sugar, and we should never drink sugar. Mm-hmm. So I had the conversation of, you have a couple choices here. So one of the reasons your body's under such a state of inflammation is because of all of this excess sugar it's having to process through. And you can absolutely continue down this path, but I think, by admitting this to me that you do this, that you want to stop this. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, it is time to just go cold turkey and start drinking water. That's the best way you can do it. You can do like, I don't recommend a step down approach where you're like, I'm going to drink 2 sodas instead of 4. Like, just stop.
Right. Because on a stressful day, you're going to go for the 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just have them out of the house or out of the office. You don't need them in the office anymore. So then he's going to go to, at least he told me he's going to go cold turkey. I'll check with him next week. But I wanted to explain the science behind why soda is not great for us. Sure. And the science, there's lots of reasons, but I wanted to go more for what happens in the liver. So soda has a sugar in it called high fructose corn syrup. And high fructose corn syrup has fructose as the component. It's not like we hear glucose, like if you have blood glucose levels, right? Glucose is typically part of like starches and table sugar, part of table sugar at least. But fructose,
it is part of high fructose corn syrup, but it's a lesser component.
It's way less. So high fructose corn syrup is mostly fructose.
Yeah.
It's not even 50-50. It's mostly fructose. I'd have to look it up, but I think the structure of it's mostly fructose.
This is where it gets into a weird question mark. And I think this is the point that others will make, but you're not wrong. The question is anything above 55 for, I want to say it's 55% is considered high fructose, but how much do they push that? And that's the big question. Could it be 75%? And that's a problem. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. I'm reading it. It says either 42 or 55% fructose as described by the Federal Organization, but at least, right?
At least.
So, yeah. So fructose is I'm going to call it a chemical, but it's a sugar that is naturally occurring in something like a fruit, right?
Yep.
But the problem is when we have it in a mass quantity, our body doesn't process it correctly. And what it does is it has to process through the liver. Where if I just ate a piece of bread that is glucose, and yes, bread is sugar. If you guys didn't want to hear it, it is. So I eat the bread, my body starts processing it in the mouth and then in the intestines, and it breaks it up into little pieces of glucose. And that goes right through the intestinal wall, it goes into my bloodstream, and bloop, my blood sugar comes up, and then my body has to process this that way. Fructose, when my body processes through it, it has to go through the blood. It can't just be used by the body. It has to process through the liver to be turned into glucose or stored fat. And where we get into trouble is that we're finding now that kids and non-alcoholic people are getting fatty liver. So their livers will be covered in this gross yellow fat. And the reason is this fructose that we're eating either through sodas and this is where we get into the kids drinking juice is turning directly into fat as storage. Because typically if you're drinking a soda, you're not necessarily doing it because you need energy. It's not like you're going to run a marathon and immediately utilize that energy. So people who have 4 sodas a day will have a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease if they've been doing it for a long period of time. And that's really scary because that leads to chronic liver problems. So when I was talking to him about this, I didn't want to scare him, but I kind of wanted to say, this is serious. If you're constantly inundating your body with fructose, you are creating liver problems. And he agreed, and hopefully I'll keep you guys updated if he gave it up. But where I get with the kid, I had 3 babies that came in today to get adjusted. They didn't come in by themselves. Their parents drove them in.
When they walk in by themselves, you're like, where's your mom? I just drove myself.
Just came by myself. But a lot of times parents will think, oh, I'm going to give my kids juice because juice is healthy because it comes from fruit. Juice is not, our ancestors were never meant to drink juice. Can you imagine?
Not the way it's made today.
Not the way it's made today. Like, and if they did, it was like a treat, right? It was like we squeezed these old apples off of the ground and made a cider, and maybe it had alcohol in it. I don't know. But like, likely. that's how fruit juice, if it was ever consumed by our ancestors, that's how it would have been consumed. But today we have it on every shelf, it's on a shelf in every supermarket. And they've been told that it's the right thing to do for kids, and it is not. Juice, honestly, I'm okay with it if it's never drank by a kid. You're not being a bad parent by keeping them away from juice. I assimilate it with, if I was going to let my kid have a soda, I would let them have a juice. Like, that's the same thing. My kids didn't even know what soda tasted like for many years. They still don't really drink it because they think it's gross because it tastes too sweet. And I love that because it is too sweet. The same thing with juice. They very rarely get any sort of juice. And if they do, it's every so often treat. Like at Christmas time, we do those sparkling juices that come in bottles, and they think that they're drinking wine, and they think it's really fun. But that's why, when we have the inundation of all of this sugar, especially not that sugar, it's sugar, not Dr. Sugar.
Yes.
We can create health problems that don't just relate to, like, yeah, your liver's probably unhealthy, but you're now creating toxic levels of inflammation in your body, and that might stop you from reacting to chiropractic care or not reacting as fast. So I'm hoping that he sees some changes with his reduction in sugar.
Yep.
So one of the things that I know you're really into is like keto and carnivore. I've studied that a lot, but I don't partake into the just eating meat diet.
You're missing out.
I know. That's what I hear. So I'd love to hear a synopsis on how that relates to you and your health and how you got into that.
And we'll circle back around, because as you were talking about not drinking fruit juice, I was adding something to the slides that I'm going to show here in just a second. So those who are,
oh, you weren't paying attention to my talk?
I was, because I was, but I'm like, oh, we got to add this one little part because it's pertinent to what you're talking about. So before we get into that, I was a chronic Coca-Cola consumer back in the day, back in my college days. In fact, we had a Coke vending machine that had Coca-Cola bottles, like
that's
glass
kind of
bottles.
Like glass bottles. I think I might have drank one of that.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And I'll still, every now and then, I don't mind trying to get a glass bottle of Coca-Cola. They call it Mexican Coke because it's still made with real sugar, opposed to the high fructose corn syrup.
Which, if you're like, I'm going to drink a soda and I have to drink one, or like I'm going to go crazy, drink a Mexican Coke. Like, at least it's got table sugar in it versus the processed grossness.
And and Pepsi ran a all natural sugar, regular sugar Pepsi a while back too, which is curious, because if you're used to drinking those soda pops, try drinking one of those, and it's really harder to drink that fast. And getting to your point about the high fructose corn syrup, there are people who are harvesting cane sugar down in the southern, probably Central Americas, certainly, I can't remember the exact region, because it's just it blew past when I was listening to the guys talk about it. But the people who are down there are chewing on the cane all the time because it's sweet, it tastes great. How bad do you think their teeth are?
Probably pretty bad.
Nope.
They're not?
Their teeth are fine. And
they
because it's what they're chewing on with the cane is a very fibrous material.
So they're cleaning their teeth while they're chewing it.
There is a factor of that. So they have rather healthy teeth, plus they're getting all the other stuff that's in the cane that would have been
like, it's
there.
A complete food versus
it ends up being a more
separating
complete
out
food that happens to have a lot of sugar in it. Whereas a lot of what we're getting in fruits, or in juices rather, are much less. But when I got off Coca-Cola, you think I had a cocaine habit. But I switched.
Now we know.
Well, that was back in the day. But and don't even get me started on original Coke and new Coke. That's a whole other rabbit hole. I don't want to go down.
We'll do a whole podcast on it next time.
We could. It's very interesting, but we won't.
To like 4 people.
Somebody else. No, actually, there's other podcasts that have covered that. So
good. Then it's been taken care
of. Go find those. It's really curious. But I went and I started drinking grapefruit juice. It had to be Tropicana, and anything else was wrong, because it just didn't taste right. But I was drinking about a gallon of that a day.
What?
Yes. It was healthier, full of pulp. I did specify it had to have pulp.
Okay.
But let's just say the weight did not come off as fast as I thought it should have. But I was being more active and maybe justifying some of those calories, but not all.
So one of the things I just want to point out here is to realize where both of us are now in our education. Yeah. Oh, sure. In our education and how we've learned through trial and error on ourselves. And what we're sharing with you is just know, if you're like, I've never heard that before, or I do everything wrong. Yeah, we used to do everything wrong too.
We've done everything wrong. And this is why, if your doctor is not improving their health along the way,
constantly, we're always working on this.
Maybe find another doctor. I hate to be that guy and suggest that, but I'm going to pull up my present, a short little couple slides here. And for those who are on YouTube, for those who are not on YouTube, come on out and hop on here. I'm not even sure what our time mark is, but any case,
Whatever, we're fine.
We're probably about 30 minutes into
we can do whatever we want. It's our podcast. I do what I want.
I know people will find stuff, but what I want to do is,
okay, I see.
Just some basic rules for eating healthy, and we're not talking anything fancy. And I'm going to read these for people who are listening. But you want to minimize your intake of wheat and processed grains in your diet, because we're finding that all these refined grains are leading to more inflammation, which might be part of your patient's problem. Because the sugars are also leading to more inflammation.
Grains make sugar in your body. Like it doesn't taste like sugar when you eat it, but it turns into sugar.
Grains, all grains are effectively sugar. The four major problems for causing more inflammation in the diet, and number 4 is a caveat. So I'll hit that one last. But all your processed grains, your sugars. I don't have seed oils on this list, but all your seed oils.
So a seed oil, just for someone listening who doesn't know, is something that's derived from a seed using very high, sometimes temperatures, and then also very high force. So they're smushed really hard, and then sometimes they're processed with chemicals. So we're talking about cottonseed oil, soybean oil, canola oil. They call them vegetable oils.
Exactly.
And vegetable makes you think that it sounds, it's healthy because it's vegetable oil. No, it is not.
No, it is definitely not, because when was the last time you got any oil out of a broccoli? Broccoli is a vegetable.
And it's not making oil.
These are all coming from seeds, and there are a few, and I'll touch on the oils that are probably
there's some good ones.
There are some actual oils, olive oil being an example.
Yeah. Olive oil is a wonderful oil when correctly harvested.
And if you can find real olive oil, because there's a ugly olive oil.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We could do a whole podcast on that.
Again, let's let somebody else go
Let somebody else do that one.
But anyway, so you want to minimize your wheat and processed grains, because that can cause inflammation. All processed foods and refined foods, if it has more than 5 ingredients, it's processed. Done. I mean, you're asking. Minimize your intake of sugars on all forms. If you are looking for something sweet, that is when you go get a fruit. And we'll sort of address that as I go through my other diets, but or some of these diet ideas that have gotten me to where I'm now at for carnivore. And it's January 4th or 5th, so we're in the middle of World Carnivore Month as it is.
World Carnivore Month. How did I miss it? I forgot to get you a present.
I know. All I needed was steak. But avoid the use of any artificial sweeteners. And there's some, stevia is a good one.
Yeah, I use a stevia glycerite. It's it to me has the best taste. So you can find it on Amazon.
Sure. And there's all sorts of other, there's some other sweeteners out there that aren't so bad. Just be careful of how you're using these, because sometimes
very minimal. You don't want to trick your brain. It's just
not only do you not want to trick your brain, some of these sweeteners that exist out there that are in the keto space to sort of, they're in the keto space. So I'm going to leave it at that. But they can cause gastrinal distress, which means it's going to go through your gut way faster than you want. You might be sitting on the toilet and not know why.
Or just get really gassy.
Uncomfortably
gassy.
And you might you might feel safer on the toilet because you don't know.
Let's not talk about that anymore.
This is a big problem. Anyways, so avoid artificial sweeteners, increase your intake of filtered water, increase your intake of raw fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you when you should and shouldn't do that. But, if you do that, and again, raw, we're not talking cooked, we're talking raw, and understand what fruits and vegetables need to be cooked. Many of them don't. Some of them do, though. Eat healthy proteins, not fried. Get away from the deep fryers. I love me deep fried food. The problem is I don't
deep
want
fried
them.
in seed oil.
It is, and this is a major problem. I would love to get a whole pot of just
Beef tallow.
You got it, and
Mm-hmm.
just fry everything in there. And I would I would eat more French fries if I had beef tallow.
I do believe the original French fry from McDonald's was fried in beef tallow.
It was, and Ray Kroc said that was sacrosanct. And there's reasons that they only had one size up into the 1990s when they were forced by it wasn't the FDA, but they were forced to not be frying in beef tallow. And we've clearly gotten healthier as a society.
So healthy. Oh my gosh. It's just the health is all around.
Yeah. So we want to increase our intake of high quality omega-3 oils. That's your fish oils. That is probably one of the biggest things that we are lacking in our diet.
Yes.
It's hard to get good fish oils because fish oils also run the same problem as the seed oils. They will go rancid in short order. And oftentimes the stuff that you're buying in the mega marts are already going to be bad. So that's going to give you problems. So get a good reputable, either from a vitamin store, from your doctor, from online, that that they're fresh, and get a higher quality if you're getting it online from somewhere like Amazon, because excuse me, that might be a fish oil burp. It's not.
Gross.
I know those happen too.
Okay. Real quick with fish oils, just a aside, is for some people who do have the burping problem with fish oils, there's two things I do to stop that. Is will take them at night before I go to bed. That way, if I am going to burp, it's not so bad. If I can't do that, I will actually put my fish oils in the freezer and I will take them frozen. Yep. That way they kind of get through my stomach before they start breaking open all the way and are stinky. So.
Yep. And there could be just simply, and if you grab your thumb web, I believe it is your right thumb web, and you sort of rub around it, and if that's tender, that's actually a gallbladder problem, which might also be a problem, part of the problem of digesting fish oils, because they're not bound to a food like they would normally have been. So again, there's so many lots and forth
of things.
We could again, we might
another whole podcast on fish
oils another time. So when you go to the grocery store, stay on the perimeter, on the outside.
That's such a good thing to do.
That was probably the biggest thing I did back when I was still doing engineering. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I heard this one thing and I'm like, all right, that makes sense. I stayed away from all of the processed foods just by doing that, because they're all in the refrigerator cases.
And they're all, even the middle, the crackers, the candy, all the stuff in the middle is crap.
Yeah. And they've changed it a little bit now, but they're still, you're going to find, as like I go into my Meijer, they've got all the fruits and vegetables right there. There's some processed stuff intermingled with it. But then all along the wall is the meat aisles. You could, freezer sections get you into trouble. So just be careful, but just around the outside where they've got the refrigeration. So, and get to know your, so last one is, for basic rules, is get to know your local butchers. They have a wealth of knowledge for not only the best cuts of meat, they're going to help you save money, potentially by buying bundles. And I would definitely highly recommend, if you don't own a freezer, buy yourself a freezer, because you could buy, a bundle of meat, put it in the freezer, and that might feed you and your family for the better part of a month, and you don't have to go shopping as much. So plus you might get some good steaks in that. So,
and your local butcher is also a small business, and I'm a big proponent of helping all of our little small businesses grow and continue to thrive.
All right, so let's go through the 3 diets that I have explored, because they're probably the easiest to follow once you understand where you're starting from. So this is called the slow-carb diet. This is a diet that was made popular by Tim Ferriss in his book, The 4-Hour Body. He did 3 4-hour work, or three 4-hour books over the past decade. He's released a couple of others, but Tim basically came up with this with help from a couple of friends, as far as I can tell. And he's got 5 basic rules. And I'm not going to go into the detail of it. You can pick up the book on Amazon. It's a fantastic book. Lots of good pointers in there. It's more a how-to to the human body than anything else. So rule number 1 is avoid white carbohydrates. Pretty much anything that is white and considered a carbohydrate. So that's your vegetables. That is your breads. What else is a carb? All your sugars, your rice, your grains, all of those.
Did you say potatoes?
I didn't, but potatoes fall into that category as well. You're absolutely right. All of those white carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is anything that's not a fat or a protein. And we're going to go into what you can eat. But avoid all those white carbohydrates because those are just sugar waiting to happen. Rule number 2, real simple: eat the same few meals over and over again. It seems redundant, but we are creatures of habit, and it's easier to make several meals if you're single living at home, or have the same meals every night for a family. Not every night, but Monday's a meal, and the next Monday's the same meal, and you might change up the order of the days, but you're eating the same things, and everyone's like, oh, I'm used to, oh, we're getting roast beef tonight. That's a favorite. Or meatloaf was a favorite when I was growing up. Don't ask how many potatoes were on those, were next to my meatloaf.
And watch out, meatloaf, you have to add breadcrumbs to a lot of times. So you gotta do one without that.
There are some ways you can do it.
Oh, you absolutely can, but the traditional way is adding breadcrumbs. So
by the way, my new favorite breadcrumb substitute is called pork panko. It's
because it's like pork rinds ground up.
Pork grinds ground up, and it's just as binding as any other breadcrumb. So
I've done that before when I've been keto dieting.
Yes. All right, number 3, and this goes back to your point, which is why I was bringing this back in.
Don't drink calories.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. No, it's under the don't eat fruit, but don't drink calories. So people think that, it's like, I'm drinking this. I remember there was this one brand. I'm going to try not to put more brands into what I'm saying, because I don't know if that'll get us in trouble, quite honestly.
I don't know either.
But there was one brand of smoothies. They would come in this 16-ounce bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, the ingredient list was clean. It was just fruits ground up, and it was this big old green bottle. And that was my breakfast.
Yeah.
But what I didn't read was the calories on that thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice. I did. That
there was 2 servings. Was there 2 servings in it?
No. I don't even remember.
That's how they trick you too. Is that they'll say, "Oh, it's only 30 grams of something," and you're like, "But it's 2 servings."
No. This one probably was 4 servings, to be quite honest. And it was a lot of calories. But don't drink your calories. And this goes for protein as well. Protein shakes and smoothies, even if you make them yourself, they tend to be super high calorie. They are not helping you out. And there is, for the purpose of digestion, we need to chew because there are chemicals that are broken, that are created in the mouth by doing the chewing method, that help prepare the food, as well as triggering the stomach for digestion. So
and I think it also triggers satiety. So it helps us feel full.
Very much so.
So that's, I do 100% agree with that. I think chewing, now, if you're someone who can't gain weight and are having problems because you can't gain enough, like that's where a protein shake might come into play.
Right.
But we're not talking about that.
No, we certainly are not. We're not talking about the guy the young man who's trying to put on muscle in high school, who goes for what they call GOMAD, or gallon of milk a day. That will put on muscle mass, but that's not that's not the direction you want to go in. So again, don't drink your calories. There are too many drinks out there that are just empty calories that do not give you any nutrition. So realize that if you want nutrition in your diet, you've got to say, what calories are actually giving me nutrition?
Yep.
Rule number 4, this comes back to what we were talking about with fruit, is don't eat fruit. I know again, if you're craving something sweet, go for fruit as a dessert. Don't make it a, meal by any means. And largely, we were not, designed for consuming fruit all year round. We're in the middle of winter here in the
There should be
Midwest.
no fruit.
There's no
like
fruit.
maybe you might be able to have stored apples or something.
Yeah, you might have a
Like,
couple apples or some dried fruit that you did, or maybe something that you canned a couple months back. But that's sparing. You're not going to have that all the time. And we don't need extra fruit this time of year. We have put on naturally, well, we should have put on a little bit of extra body fat coming into the holidays, natural, and that's sort of what we've always celebrated. You had your, grandma's pie, and the cookies and the cakes, and you have all these extra calories for the winter, where we then don't have all of these calories available, and we need those extra calories to keep us, quite honestly, warm at night, through the cold and the cold showers and the cold plunges, which crazy people like us now try to do.
You don't say us, that's you.
I know it's there's other people here who are like, Doc, I'm going to do the cold shower with you.
Yeah, sure they will.
Yeah, they turn their bar is even lower. They just turn the cold water on. They look at it. They put their hand in there, said, I did enough, and they turn off
That
the
was
water.
good. My hand is cold now.
Sometimes that's it. But again, we wouldn't have it. We now no longer have the world where we can't have fruit all year round.
It's all, you go, it might not be that great this time of year, but it's there. Or you can get canned fruit and they put it in syrup.
So yeah, no. The best one to look at are really blueberries, because aside from there's two things that'll tell you the blueberries are probably not that great. First is the price tag. Blueberries right now for a pint are probably what, $5 a pint right now around,
maybe
from where we
inflation's $7.
Well, probably, right. But in the spring they'll be plentiful, and they'll maybe be about $2 a pint.
Oh yeah, you'll get like, 2 of those for $5 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy part. Start learning to taste what a blueberry tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
Get that in your brain so that you know that one was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not have it. There is no such thing as an awesome blueberry in the winter.
No, they're sour. They're sometimes squishy.
There's a brightness that is not present in the blueberries right now, that it's not even, it just doesn't taste good. Mm-hmm. And when you finally start getting away from all these processed vegetable or processed meals and foods, you can start tasting your food opposed to just shoving stuff down your gullet.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's so true. Is when you can retrain your body to, your tongue to taste things that you
absolutely.
didn't even know. You didn't even know you were missing.
And that's a 2-week cycle that you have to take a break from before you realize that's a problem.
Yep.
So the last rule for the slow carb diet, and this is one of those,
take it or leave it. You can,
early on, as you're trying to get your feet wet in the diet space and try to say, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be good. You are going to take 1 day off per week and eat whatever you want. They are often called fatter days on the slow carb community. Mm-hmm. These are the days where, I come on down and visit with you and say, all right, we are going to the Chinese buffet and I'm going to eat everything I can. In fact, you almost want to overdo it.
Yeah, because you will make yourself feel sick too.
It will make you feel sick because
but then it stops you from wanting to do it again.
Right. And so there is that.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, like, as this says here, gorge yourself. This is your psychological release valve, because a lot of people are like, I don't know if I can not eat fruit all week long. No, eat it on Saturday. Doc, I really love pizza. Eat it on Saturday. So you got that psychological release valve. Plus, then come Sunday, you're like, yeah, I don't want to eat today. I ate too much yesterday. So you can get back to your diet, and you'll see this yo-yoing effect. And at a certain point in time, I think I probably did this slow carb for maybe 6-8 months And I still pop, if I'm going to eat carbohydrates, I pop into slow carb. But when I do this, I don't have, I stopped doing the fatter days because I'm just like, I don't need that anymore, because I didn't need the psychological relief valve. And I realized, man, I don't feel good eating any of that stuff. So let's get into the diet. Any questions that you might have as we think about this?
I don't. I'm just looking at our time. I don't want you, because the next two things that you're going to talk about, I think you're really passionate about. I'm wondering if we should.
This will be all I'm going to do is
touch on them. Okay, I was like, because we could spend more time on it in the next podcast too.
We let's do that. We'll do that. But all I'm going to do to cover here is I'm going to hit what to eat in the slow carb diet, and then what is the difference between slow carb and keto, and what's the difference between keto and carnivore. And
okay, just the differences, but not like, because we could talk a lot on both of those other ones.
So here's so again, folks, and if you want to search on the internet, I think there were 17 different places you can find a slow carb diet eating list. I'm going to go over some of the things that I would preferentially suggest on this list. But it's pretty straightforward. And this is, again, Tim's list from 2010, maybe 9 or 10. I want to say it's been around for, over a decade, and people are having great success with it still today. So as far as protein, egg whites with 1 to 2 whole eggs, chicken breast or thigh, beef, preferably grass-fed, grass-finished, I should specify, fish, pork, lactose-free, unflavored whey protein powder. There's your protein. Eat as much protein as to fill yourself up. Don't hold back on this. In fact, eat all of this stuff to fill yourself up, but you're going to focus on higher protein. The slow carb part of this is the legumes. It's all these beans, the lentils, the black beans, the pinto beans, the red beans. Slow carb, for people who will say, ooh, but how do I do this and go eating out? Real simple.
Oh, it's easy.
You go Mexican.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you could go anywhere and get, like, you could get a vegetable. A lot of places you can get broccoli and a piece of chicken, or broccoli and a steak with some butter on it.
Right. But will that fill you up to not want dessert? For you,
it might. I don't know. I think it would.
Right. But here's where the beans come into play. You can the beans are a slow burning protein.
Okay.
That will digest, or a slow burning carb that has a higher level of protein that will digest slower over time. So that's why the beans come in really handy, and that's why Mexican's a really great choice. You can go sit down at a restaurant, hang out with friends, and don't eat the chips.
Don't eat the chips. Oh, it's so hard not to eat chips, but don't eat the chips.
But,
you know what I have done is I have brought in a little bag. Of course, I have a purse because I'm a girl.
Yes.
A little bag of chicharrones. Some of Mexican restaurants will have those. Those are the pork skins.
Yeah.
And then I will dip that into my salsa. So you can, if you are slow carbing or low carbing or ketoing, you can go to a Mexican restaurant and still partake in the chips, but just kind of bring your own and a little bag of pork rinds. Yum.
Yep. So as far as vegetables, your big vegetables are spinach, all your cruciferous, your broccolis, your Brussels sprouts, your cauliflower, kale, sauerkraut, and kimchi are good for almost any diet. And even for some of the carnivores, you might want to do that just to help sort of rebalance your gut biome.
And sauerkraut, you want to find one that's like in a jar that is a natural one, not necessarily the bagged ones. A lot of times are processed.
Oh, interesting. I've not looked into sauerkraut in a while.
You'll find a jar. A lot of them will say you have to shake it before you open it and that kind of thing. So
interesting. And you can make your own. It's not hard.
You can.
There are kits to make it.
You don't even need a kit. You literally just put salt on it and the natural. Yeah, I've made it multiple times. It's super simple.
Asparagus is great. Peas are great. Green beans are great.
Yum.
Again, I would focus on getting these in season. The cruciferous vegetables are in season more even in the winter than the others. But asparagus, peas, green beans,
kale.
Oftentimes those things are a little bit earlier. Cook your kale, cook your cruciferous vegetables. Do not eat those raw. That would be my other point.
Yes.
As far as fats, butter is great. Get some
Grass-fed butter.
Grass-fed butter, what they call European. Olive oil is good for low heat cooking. Avocado oil is good for high heat cooking. Nuts like almonds, fine. You can have those. Ghee is another good one for high heat cooking. Creamers are going to be good. I don't have it on this list. I need to update my list. Tallow, which is beef fat.
Yep.
And lard. And if you really want to have the best eggs ever, duck fat. Hands down.
You've told me about that before.
That is still one of the best ones out there.
Where do you even find duck fat?
Epic brand had duck fat for a while. And I haven't seen Epic brand in my stores lately, but if you know where you can find some Epic brand foods, then you're going to be good.
Okay.
And creamer as necessary.
I feel like you have to have your coffee, and there's no way to,
Yeah, if you haven't, if you
can actually put a little whey protein powder in there, and sometimes it will give you the creamer effect.
Yep, and I've just gone black on my coffee because it's just happier. But that's me. Then spices, get a good salt. There's a lot of plastics in salts these days, so I like the Redmond's Real. But anything that's coming from a mine versus coming out of the sea right now, that's going to be your better choice. And then herbs and garlic salt, those are all fine. So from the slow carb diet to keto is a real simple step. Get rid of the legumes.
Nice. Oh, now I see why it's so easy.
Right. And then I would say the dairy
and that little creamer. Yeah.
Get rid of that. That would be the other thing. But everything else is fair game. The trick to keto, to do it properly, is really you just go ahead and you have to increase your fats and figure out your protein ratio. It is not just straight Atkins.
No, it's the macros are important.
Yeah, so you gotta be able to sort of track stuff a little bit better. But as far as what you're eating, there's not a huge change. It's not that difficult. You might actually be adding a little bit more butter as you're cooking stuff. But again, no seed oils. We're getting rid of all of staying away from all of that. And the step to carnivore is even simpler. You get rid of pretty much all the vegetables, all the fats except for your butter, your lard, your tallow. Keep to the Redmond's Real salt, and really, that's supposed to be whole with a W, and apparently I was typing
it's a
wrong.
holy egg.
Well, there's some jokes about where chickens, the animal, the pet that poops eggs. But I like, I think beef is the best choice for that. I know Sean Baker, who's the sort of the head of the World Carnivore Month group right now, he's actually taking a break from eggs this month, which a lot of people, to get good farm fresh eggs, the chickens simply aren't laying. So
they go through periods where they don't lay in the winter.
So I'm not eating eggs right now. I'm just eating a bunch of beef, and I'm very happy that way. So beef and Braunschweiger, that's another story. But any case, so folks, for the folks who are listening, carnivore is simply eat your eggs. Chicken and pork is a less happy food on carnivore. I don't know a lot of people who are doing pure fish on carnivore. I haven't heard about that. I would definitely get rid of the whey protein. I didn't X that out, which is why beef and eggs tend to be really popular.
Beef, eggs, and butter.
Beef, eggs, and butter. And that's happy. And I'm on World Carnivore Month year 3.
Okay.
Because I think this is my 3rd year into it, and I haven't stopped eating it. I tried it for 30 days. I said, all right, I'll give this a shot. And I'm still giving it a shot. I think it's working.
I'm glad it works for you. I know it doesn't work for everyone.
No. And there's reasons for that, which are another podcast away.
That I'm glad to have the explanation between what they all are. The slow carb. Can you go back to?
Yeah.
No, one more.
You want that one.
That one. I think these 5 rules are a great place for people to start.
Absolutely.
And that the avoid the white carbs, eat similar meals over and over again. Don't drink your calories. Avoid fruit, but if you're going to eat something sweet, eat an apple or something, or especially like a berry.
Yep.
And giving yourself some grace on a Saturday and saying, okay, I'm going to eat some of the things I love, so that if I'm doing well most of the time.
Yes.
And I'm giving myself a day, like if there's a wedding you have to go to, well, that's your cheat day.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start. You might find out over time you don't need so many cheat days, and that's a wonderful place to go. But I think I think you did a great job introducing the slow carb.
And
That's
this is
wonderful.
and again, getting back to why are 2 upper cervical doctors talking about diet? Well, people need to eat, and sometimes they hit a plateau.
Yes.
And they're not responding to care the way they're supposed to. And this is where, Doc, I had a gal come in this week, says, Doc, my finger right here, I know it's the rheumatoid. And I'm like, did you eat a bunch of cakes and cookies over the holidays? She says, yes. And I told her that I had a rash on the inside of these 2 fingers that I just couldn't figure out what was causing the rash. I'm looking and looking and looking, and I'm not overwashing or anything like that. And then I think I popped into slow carb, and it might have been even later after I cut out more grains and such, that it just goes away.
Yeah.
And if I get bad on my diet, if I decide I'm going to eat too much sugar or have a really good weekend, I'll see this what looks to be a little pimple show up on my finger, and I'm like, all right, time to cut back.
Try to get strong. Yeah. And you listen to your body, and your body will tell you. Your body will tell you things if you're actually listening. If you eat a meal and you don't feel good that next day or that night after eating it, your body told you something, and actually listen.
Yep. I think that's a good place for us to wrap up.
Love it.
Folks, when you're looking for someone to help you out, who's going to guide you on your health journey, Dr. Baigley and I are more than happy to help. You can find me at KeystoneChiroSPI.com.
You can find me at Precision Chiropractic, STL, like St. Louis.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dr. Beth Baigley and TikTok.
All right, everyone. You have a good evening.
Have a good one, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
That's all for today's episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoyed today's show with Drs. Baigley and Schurger, remember, don't give up and just live with the pain. Come back next week and get more answers and solutions. Visit our websites at KeystoneChiroSPI.com and PrecisionChiropracticSTL.com for more info, and catch all the episodes of The Blonde and the Bald.